Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about the Nobleton real estate market for February 2018. In particular, I've got some amazing news about what's going on with home prices in the area. My name is Sessa. I'm with RE/MAX Premier. I'm going to have some slides today that you can download at the end of this, at the end of the video, or go to NobletonRealEstateInsider.com. You'll have access to all these slides. When you listen to the news and we talk about all of Treb, they've been talking about the market is down 35%, that the average sales price is down over 12%. That sounds terrible. That sounds doom and gloom. But when we talk about more of the Nobleton market, we're talking a slightly different story. Let me just, even just with the Treb numbers, let me tell you a slightly different story than what they're actually saying. We're looking at detached houses, the average sold price. Yes, when we compare our prices now to what was happening in the first quarter of last year, well, January, February, March, most of April were record months for us. No matter what we compare, when the first quarter of this year is going to seem terrible compared to the first quarter of last year. But the prices we have now are a little bit more normalized. And when we look at the trend, now this is for all of Treb, detached houses, we can see that the last few months it's been pretty steady. It hasn't been up and down, and it's been steady as she goes. We were down a little bit in December, 0.7%. We're down 0.9% in January, but in February, prices went up just over 3%. When we compare detached prices across all of Treb to detached prices in Nobleton, Nobleton is outperforming all of Treb, which is fantastic news. Let's see how Nobleton compares to some of the cities surrounding us here. So I've looked at some of the cities close by. So we've got Vaughan just to the south, Richmond Hill, Nobleton is the thick red line. King City, prices are much higher in King City, that's the gray line. Aurora. Nobleton, the thick red, for many parts of the year last year is actually outperforming some of these neighboring cities, which is fantastic news, especially if you live in Nobleton. And when we look at the last few months, except for King City, Nobleton has the highest average sales price for detached homes. Looking at Nobleton just a little bit closer, we look at units sold and we look at average prices. And again, I don't want to focus too much when comparing to February last year. I don't want to look at that because they were record months. And it's in April that the government introduced their market calming announcements, how they're going to change the prices. Well, it actually worked. Prices came down, but then they started to go up. And Nobleton, for detached homes, has been on a bit of a roller coaster. When we look at December, there was only one home sold. And I know when you drive around the streets, you're seeing for sale signs in the ground much longer than your normal. You're wondering, is anything selling? Well, December, one home was sold. January, 2 homes were sold. And of those, the average price went down a little bit. It's really difficult to focus a lot on average price when there's just a few sales, because one home could really influence the overall average. But for February, there were 7 homes sold in the Nobleton area, and the average price of those went up about 19%. To me, that's good news. When we look at the Nobleton market a little bit closer, 2016 versus 2017, sales were down 7%, but the average price, 2016 versus 2017, was up 20%. That's fantastic. When we look at just the month of February and compare it back to February 2017, which is what the news is doing, yeah, it shows that we're down 11%, which is terrible. But the reality is, closer to home and closer to today, we're coming off of January. When we look at January average sales price versus February average sales price, we're actually up 19%. Those are fantastic numbers. This is my favorite chart of them all. We can talk about all of Treb, we can even talk about all of Nobleton. But if you were to invite me and say, Santo, I'm thinking of selling my home, or I'm thinking of buying on this street, I'm gonna look at your neighborhood. I'm not necessarily gonna analyze all of Nobleton. I'm gonna see what's happening in the few streets around your home, and that's what this chart shows. So when we look at, say, the Park Heights, the new subdivision up here, and we compare 2016 to 2017, prices were up 18%. Now, so far for this year, there's only been 4 homes sold and the average sales price is just under 1.6. But when we look at, we're still coming off of 2017, that's a huge increase, 18%. So is it fair to say Nobleton prices were up 18%? Well, they were in this neighborhood. In this older subdivision part over here, prices were up 2.3%. Just below King Road, in this neighborhood, prices were down 18%. So just less than a kilometer away, up 18%, down 18%. It's so important to analyze what's happening in your own neighborhood. It's so important not to get caught up in what the news is saying. I often get people calling me, what's going on, what's going on? Well, it all depends. What's happening in your neighborhood is really what's important to you, or what's happening in the neighborhood that you're looking to purchase in, that's what's important to you, and the direction. Is it going up? Is it going down? My name is Santo Sessa. I'm with RE/MAX Premier. Thank you so much. I hope you found this information useful. Below, there'll be some links where you can download a bunch of these slides, or go to NobletonRealEstateInsider.com. You'll have access to all these slides. Thank you.